But I did want to talk about Pinochet, because I got asked about Pinochet the other day, and I think I gave a pretty good response. What are my thoughts on Pinochet? I feel like Pinochet is a microcosm of where a lot of people on the right are. So let me be clear. When I talk about left and right, I usually think of left and right as broad coalitions of pressure groups, ideologies, and whatnot. And I think the left is generally organized around wanting to destroy capitalism. Whereas the right is generally organized around opposing the left. Now, does that mean that everyone on the left wants to destroy capitalism? No. Think of people like Bill Maher. He's on the left. Do I think he wants to destroy capitalism? No. He probably just sides with the left because he thinks that they're less worse than a lot of what the right has to offer. And I see this tendency on the right where people are willing, the right is increasingly tolerant of authoritarianism. They are increasingly embracing authoritarianism as an alternative to the left. And I think a lot of people on the right who admire Pinochet, I think, is somewhat of a microcosm of that. Because occasionally I'll get, what do you think about Pinochet? Oh, I know dictatorship is bad, but look what Pinochet did. He saved Chile from the evil left, you guys. So I referred to Wikipedia and this audiobook I got last night on Audible. What's it called? I want to be clear about my sources here. Augusto Pinochet. It's by Charles River, editors. Very short audiobook. And he's pretty honest about not only about Pinochet, but his opposition, namely the Allende presidency in Chile. And the Allende was a Marxist who, according to this book, was an admirer of Joseph Stalin, and eventually wanted to bring a Marxist. He was a devout Marxist and wanted to bring around a Soviet-like regime to Chile. Now, Allende was democratically and legally elected as president. And the thing with Pinochet was he was not really committed to any ideology, but he was opposed to Marxism. But nevertheless, he did do his duty, his military duty, as a member of the armed forces, eventually raising to the rank of general. And after Allende came to power in Chile, and he worked with, and him and the legislature pushed their economic reforms, they were very destructive. And apparently the left was becoming increasingly violent in the streets during this time. And there was a lot of political turmoil within Chile at the time. It wasn't just, Augusto Pinochet just decided one day, I'm going to overthrow the government and I'm going to take over. He merely cashed in on a very tumultuous situation in Chile. But I don't think Pinochet is a hero of capitalism. I don't think he should be admired as a hero whatsoever. Even Milton Friedman apparently condemned him, saying that it was a miracle for the military junta to abandon its principles by embracing market reforms after the junta came to power. So basically, yeah, there was a lot of political turmoil, a lot of economic destruction. Inflation was going through the roof. And I think the Allende regime was even suppressing protests, strikes, and had control over the media in Chile. And then the junta, or Pinochet, eventually overthrew the government with some other political allies and established a military dictatorship. And Pinochet apparently was a proud authoritarian. He once said that not a leaf moves in Chile without me knowing about it. He proudly said that, after they took over, that authoritarianism is going to be needed to ensure stability during these tough times. I guess at one point, the book that I mentioned, that he dismissed the idea of elections for during a time, the idea of democratic elections for choosing a new leader. I guess he at one point said, eventually I'm going to die, and someone's going to replace me, and they're going to die. But elections to decide a leader? He just thought it was silly. After Pinochet rose to power, he pretty much seized control over the media in Chile. And all news, press, entertainment, arts had to be approved by the junta. Political parties were outlawed. I think labor unions were also outlawed in Chile. Don't remember if it was union strikes or both. Oh, crap. And, it wasn't just, a lot is talked about the caravan of death. And the mass repression that followed the rise in power of the junta. You're fired. And a lot of times when this gets brought up, it was just like, oh, but it was just the evil communists. I think that's what people like you to think. Oh, it's just the evil communists that got tossed out of helicopters, which even then it doesn't make it right. But a lot of political allies that supported the coup of Pinochet, the coup of the, the Allende regime, were eventually repressed and exiled. Many of the dissidents that were repressed and murdered, some of them were American journalists. One of them was a famous musician in Chile.
We'll soon have that patched up.
So I don't think Pinochet was motivated. It's clear that he was not motivated by some desire to bring about free markets and freedom in Chile when he was such an authoritarian, when he controlled the press, controlled the media. I guess when they rewrote the Constitution, while they did make a lot of free market reforms and privatized a lot of areas of the economy, Pinochet maintained that the mines that were nationalized by the Allende administration, they should remain nationalized. And for a while, after he put the Chicago boys in charge, I think it was just by happenstance that he just let the Chicago boys do their thing. And after the economy grew, eventually the economy was facing a debt crisis, in which the junta eventually renationalized a lot of the parts that were nationalized during the Allende administration, particularly the banks. I think they were nationalized. And eventually, after the economy bounced back and stabilized, I guess they privatized a lot of the industries again. And then it's also been made about the fact that when Pinochet did privatize some of the industries, a lot of the industries were sold off at a modest price to a lot of people who were politically connected with him. And a lot of people give Pinochet credits for stepping aside after getting voted out in an election. So I think in the 1980, in the new Constitution, he said, I'm going to be president for another 8 years, and then we're going to have elections. And then the people of Chile ultimately decided that they did not want him to be president anymore. And a lot of people say, see, he stepped aside. But from what I've read on Wikipedia, I know it's Wikipedia, I guess Pinochet tried to talk the heads of the military into seizing the capital to prevent a peaceful transition of power, in which the leaders were like, no, we're not going to do that. And the book I listened to mentioned that he actually also got a lot of pressure from other members of the junta who asserted themselves during the 1980s. So long story short, Pinochet was a total thug. He was a dictator. And I don't think he's this hero of capitalism. A lot of people... Okay, I should also add. A lot of people will say, they'll make excuses like, oh, but the left was worse. Oh, but if they had not orchestrated the coup, Chile may have devolved into a civil war, which would have been very bloody. It would have resulted in more deaths, more destruction, and whoever took power after the Civil War probably would have been worse than Pinochet. And I'm willing to concede that. But that's not the point of this. The point is to assess Pinochet as a leader, and I think he was a total thug dictator. And I don't get why so many people admire the guy. And my sense is that the reason why a lot of people on the right admire him is because, hey, he owned the left. Yeah, he was bad, but he was better than the left.